You know, if I were Kamala Harris, I'd be drinking too. I'm not Kamala Harris and I'm drinking. I mean, not currently, but you know, it's a celebratory time of year. It's Thanksgiving. We've got a lot to, Donald Trump's coming back to the White House. So there's a lot to be thankful for this year. And there's a lot to raise a glass to. And apparently, according to this video, Kamala Harris has been raising her glass a lot. Like a lot. I mean, it's amazing. The question remains, who allowed this video to get out there? Why was it that the Democrats posted this video on their platform, on their X feeds? What were they even thinking? Was it sabotage, as some people like to think, or was it just bad judgment? I mean, this is a campaign that's all about bad judgment, but that's not even the worst part of it. Kamala Harris is basically admitting to defrauding a lot of her voters because, well, we have some new information about the campaign and what they knew and when they knew it and how they continued on their merry way, despite the fact that they pretty much knew this thing was over, that there was going to be there was no hope. There was no hope for Kamala Harris ever. And that's something that they fundraised off of to the tune of $1.2 billion. It's all just insanity. If you haven't yet seen this video, don't worry. We're going to show it to you here in just a minute. But first, I want to share with you some interesting news we got from the Trump campaign. This was on Caroline Leavitt. This was a statement that they released about the Trump-Vance transition team last night and early this morning. Several of President Trump's cabinet nominees and administration appointees were targeted in violent, un-American threats to their lives and those who live with them. These attacks ranged from bomb threats to swatting. In response, law enforcement and other authorities acted quickly to ensure the safety of those who were targeted. President Trump and the entire transition team are grateful for their swift action. President Trump and the transition are focused on doing the work of uniting our nation by ensuring a safe and prosperous future. With President Trump as our example, dangerous acts of intimidation and violence will not deter us. Caroline Leavitt, Trump-Vance transition spokeswoman. So as you can see, the Democrats, they're up to their old tricks. These are the same people that would SWAT multiple occasions. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert got swatted a couple times. There's a bunch of, if you're a conservative and you're outspoken, then the Democrats, they don't retaliate with their own ideas. They don't open up a thoughtful debate. They don't try to go out there and convince Americans, no, that the conservative way of life is not right, that we need this raging liberalism and wokeism. No, they just call the cops and say bomb threat, or they call the cops and say send the SWAT team. Somebody's being held against their will. All these various, things that they do, which, number one, put people's lives in danger. Because if you're the SWAT team and you're showing up at somebody's house, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's happening inside that house. A lot of times when people get swatted, the people in the home are at risk of being accidentally shot or injured by one of these police officers who believes that they could be responding to some kind of domestic abuse charge or some kind of kidnapping. I mean, it's all kinds of various things that they feel like they could be walking into when these things happen. So it's troubling that the Democrats continue to do this tactic, but it's not at all surprising. Shocking, not surprising. It is all about the Democrats trying to get in the way of true American progress with President Trump and his transition team. And that's something else, too, that's disheartening because, with President Trump's transition team, and there's a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life who have already said, they've already put their relationships on the line. They've already put some of their, their work and their prosperity on the line. They put now their lives on the line with some of these threats that they're getting. All of these things, they're all coming about from just the fact that they want to work with President Trump to make America great again. And that is something that you shouldn't have to do. If you're going into the military, you should probably expect that there may be a time when your life is put in danger. But if you're like, I'm going to go work at, the Department of Health and Human Services, or I'm going to go work in the budget office, or I'm going to go help President Trump by being one of his advisors about national security, that shouldn't come with death threats or bomb threats or swatting attempts or the police banging down your door in the middle of the night or early in the morning like you're harboring Peanut the squirrel. None of that should happen. These are patriots. These are Americans who won the election, whose agenda was sold to the American people, and the American people bought it. And now they are dedicating the next 4 years of their life to making America great again and making sure that agenda gets executed, not just for themselves, but for all of us. And now you've got the crazy Democrats who are out there calling in these bomb threats and whatnot. It's just ridiculous. Something else that's cool, though, before we get to the Kamala Harris tape, is this statue. I don't know if you saw this is on Breitbart. There's a 2-story tall statue of President Trump being constructed, and it's to commemorate his fight, fight, fight moment at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, when he was shot in the ear, the assassination attempt that went wrong, thank God. You know, instead of getting hit here, he got hit here, grazed in the ear because he was looking at the immigration chart. All the stuff, the miracle that happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. You remember all of that. Well, there's now a statue that it's a 2-story Trump statue drawing on his iconic defiance post-assassination attempt. It's under construction. It's going to be a tall bronze statue shaped to capture his image in the wake of the assassination attempt. The Breitbart News has obtained exclusive photos of the statue, which is still under construction. Backers behind the project hope to unveil the finished product at Trump's inauguration. So they're working fast. Look how fast. Look, they've already got the feet. They got the shoes. They've welded together the belt and the upper torso there. They're just working on the head. They've got the head somewhere. I saw a photo of, there it is. That looks like, I don't know if that's the head or if that's a mock-up of the head. Looks like that could be the actual head of the statue that they're going to put on this thing. But yeah, there it is with the arm defiantly raised up in the air. This is a quick job. I mean, I don't know if you know anything about sculpture, but the assassination attempt and look at this. This thing's amazing. The assassination attempt happened in July, about 6 months before the inauguration. And to have that photo shot, to be able to put together because you know what you do when you do sculpture, and I know a little bit about this, is you start with a smaller statue like this one. And you say, okay, here, first you got to make this statue. Then you got to say, all right, I need funding. I need to figure out a way to make a bigger statue. And you get backers and supporters. And then you got to work on it day and night. And it's no easy task. The fact that this is going to get done in 6 months is amazing. And I don't know who these artists, let's see who the artist is. Crypto investors with the Project Patriot commissioned Ohio artist Alan Cotrill to create the bronze statue after Trump was nearly assassinated in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th. Cotrill is working to capture Trump's courage and defiance immediately after being shot. In iconic fashion, Trump rose with a bloodied face. We all remember that. So here we go. So this artist is working with this crypto company, and they are putting it together. Project Patriot statue. It's been one hell of a ride the last decade. The Patriot Project statue and tour is our way of claiming how these incredible times are remembered by history, Stockton said. So I'm excited to see the finished project. It's going to look like that, but it's going to be 25, 30 feet tall when it's all said and done. So exciting stuff. And that's just an ad for something gross. Exciting stuff, and we're really excited to see not just that Breitbart got these exclusive photos, but it'll be exciting to see it unveiled. I don't know where it's going to be. I don't know where it's going to stand either. And it's clear it could stand in Butler, Pennsylvania, which would make sense at the site of the iconic assassination attempt that was thwarted, or it could stand in Washington D.C. It could stand at Mar-a-Lago. Who knows? We're going to find that out though later on together, and I'm very, very, very excited about that. All right, speaking of iconic imagery, Kamala Harris released a video yesterday, and the way that this was explained to me, the way that I understand it is that Kamala Harris decided to get on a conference call with Tim Walz from Minnesota, and a bunch of supporters, grassroots supporters, people who worked with her to try to get her elected president. Unfortunately, or fortunately for us, but unfortunately for them, they weren't successful. And Kamala Harris fled to Hawaii for an extended vacation. Now she's back, and she wanted to get on a call with a bunch of her supporters and thank them. And I don't know what the consensus was, about her condition, but most people decided it's not a good idea for her to get on this call. Jack Posobiec on X replied that he talked to a White House source who said Kamala Harris was urged not to do this phone call. Kamala Harris was urged not to go on camera. She did anyway, and the result was a video that has been widely disseminated, mocked, dissected, and just, face-palmed from every walk of life, because she appears, again, we don't know what she did beforehand. We don't know her blood alcohol level, but the way she slurs her words, the way she has those big, bold mannerisms, the way she's looking at you into the camera, kind of creepy, it appears that she could be under the influence of something.
Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. and you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
And she does give off, a lot of people said, I heard drunk aunt at Thanksgiving vibes, you know, who was like, come here, let me talk to you. Don't you ever let anyone take your power from you. Do you understand? You have power. You're a powerful person. And you got the same power now you had before November the 5th. Don't do it. It does seem a lot of people compared her to Nancy Pelosi. Like, you know, maybe she's crossing over into that older Democrat demographic where the women, because Nancy Pelosi has also been known to, I don't know if she's teetotaling or if she's just slurring her words, but something's going on there too.
And, you know, while he may be saying we're enablers, we see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issues, how informed he is. And I debate with him about legislation, and not debate, but discuss it with him. He's right there. So in any case, it was a bad night. Let's not sugarcoat that. It was a bad night. It was a great presidency.
Can you imagine Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris getting together on a Friday night just discussing anything? I mean, it's just one of those thoughts that anyway, it's weird. But there was a lot of it was a 9-minute. It was a 9-minute unscripted, I believe. I mean, it could have been scripted, maybe, but it didn't seem like it. Unscripted phone call with her supporters. And a lot of people believe Kamala Harris, because that new poll came out and everyone said, we want Kamala Harris to be our nominee in 2028, which makes me think the whole party's inebriated. But she won. She was by far the number one pick for 2028 for the Democrat Party was Kamala Harris to lead them to victory over whoever is going to be the Republican nominee, J.D. Vance, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, who knows? But they believe Kamala Harris is the best person to win. So she wanted to, I guess, keep her grassroots supporters excited and not, make them, if they're feeling downtrodden, maybe, keep them inspired and keep them sticking around for 4 years and say, look, we're going to do all this again. And in the end, like I said, she just created a video which has become a mockery because of her bizarre behavior.
The outcome of this election obviously is not what we wanted. It is not what we worked so hard for. But I am proud of the race we ran. And your role in this was critical. What we did in 107 days was unprecedented. Think about the coalition that we built, and we were so intentional about that. You would hear me talk about it all the time. Being a daughter of parents who are active in the civil rights movement, I know and believe that the best movements that are about progress in our country mean that it's leaders that we are dedicated to the coalition, to bringing people together that seemingly have nothing in common, but have everything in common.
Yeah, it's the way she says coalition. She's coalition. It's that's one of those words. It's multiple syllables, and it's got that TION, that shun. And when you've been, when you've had one or two, it's tough to get those out. Coalition, and that's where people really started to question: wait, what's going on with Kamala Harris? Is she able to do this speech? Should she maybe sleep it off a little bit and then come back and try it again? And as we reported, at the urging of White House staff, according to Jack Posobiec, she was urged not to do it. We don't know if that's the truth or not, but that's what we've heard. And it seems like, yeah, she probably should not have been in front of the camera. At one point, it seemed like she belched. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Listen to this clip and tell me if you don't hear. It's like a belch or a hiccup or one of those, where you're just like something's coming back up and you're not really sure.
A coalition where we bring people together based on a deep love of our country and our understanding that the strength of our country will be a function of our willingness to put in the work.
She got a bubble. She got her bubble in the function. Like she got a bubble in her throat. So maybe she was having champagne. Maybe she was toasting to I don't know what. Toasting to Donald Trump. Who knows? But one of the there was this clip too, which is very funny to me.
And it means so much to me and to Governor Walz that you knocked on doors, you called friends, you called in favors You said, hey, I showed up at your softball game. Now I need you to show up at the campaign office.
Yeah, that reminds me of so many people back in college when we were, at the fraternity party or at the bar on a Saturday night. It's like, hey, you got to call up your buddies, and you got to say, I came to your softball game. Now you come to the campaign office. It's very reminiscent of that kind of, because there's different kinds of drunk. And again, I'm not saying she's drunk. I have no idea. But when you're drunk, there's different kinds of drunk. There's angry drunk, which just starts throwing punches, just angry at everybody, angry at the whole world. Then there's tired drunk, you just pass out, start sleeping. That's me, by the way. Then there's the lovey drunk that like hangs on you and is just like, I love you, man. You're so great. They made a whole movie. They made a whole movie about that called, I think, I Love You, Man. And then there's the philosophical drunk who really tries to make heads, who gloms onto a thought and is just so taken, like, you know what, we got a coalition. And it is great that what you did is you went to the softball game and you said, come to my campaign headquarters. And then they just start laughing uncontrollably in the middle of all of it.
And it means so much to me and to Governor Walz that you knocked on doors, you called friends, you called in favors. You said, hey, I showed up at your softball game. Now I need you to show up at the campaign office.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's really shocking. But here's the really shocking part. When you cut through all of the slurring of the words, when you cut through the bizarre behavior, when you cut through the really large, grandiose, over-exaggerated hand gestures, which again is a sign that typically somebody's maybe under the influence of something because they always are acting like, whoa, that's amazing. Everything's wild. There was this. I guess she was excited about it or proud of it. She started bragging about it. But for most people in the country and most people listening, they thought to themselves, wait a minute, is this something you should really be bragging about? Is this something you want to share with people? Maybe this is something you don't bring up anymore. Maybe this is something you sweep under the rug. But no, Kamala Harris, she wanted everybody to know how much money she raised for her wholly unsuccessful presidential campaign.
Get this. We raised an historic $1.4 billion, almost $1.5 billion from grassroots supporters alone. The most in presidential campaign history.
Okay. There's Kamala Harris on a conference call with people being recorded and being disseminated around the world saying, get this. She's so She's like, get this. Guys, huddle up. Get this. We raised $1.2 billion. And we blew it all, and we still owe $20 million that we're trying to raise money for. We spent $1.2 billion on this campaign. That's a record. No presidential candidate or campaign has ever raised $1.2 billion. No presidential campaign or candidate has spent $1.2 billion. And you would think that if you spent that much money, if you had $1.2 billion, which I know if you're Vladimir Zelensky, ain't nothing but a thing, but to the rest of us, it's a lot of money. If you spent that much on a political campaign, you might think that you would win that political campaign, but the opposite is true. Kamala Harris is basically saying, we spent all this money, like Bill Gates money. We spent so much money. This was the most amount of money ever spent on a presidential campaign, and we lost it all in glorious fashion. Not only do we not have any money left, not only are we still in the tank for 20 mil, but we got Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion and Eminem and Oprah and all these people on stage, and they didn't do diddly squat for us. They actually may have made people less inclined to vote for us. In fact, we lost the electoral vote by almost 100 electoral votes. We lost the popular vote by a couple of million votes, which is weird because Democrats usually win the popular vote despite losing the electoral vote. Not Kamala Harris and her $1.2 billion, boy. This was an historic event. She raised more money and got fewer votes than any presidential candidate in history. She raised more money and had less to show for it. She couldn't even outperform Joe Biden in 2020, who spent, like half of that? I don't know how much money Joe Biden spent in 2020, but Joe Biden outperformed Kamala Harris in every single county. You remember CNN? You remember John King and Jake Tapper? Literally nowhere? There was a blank gray slate of counties. Not one of them garnered Kamala Harris more votes than Joe Biden did in 2020. Literally nowhere. did she outperform Joe Biden, and literally everywhere did she outspend him. So Kamala Harris and her team are so excited. They're so amazed. They're so pumped about all this money that they raised in 107 days, too. That's the most amazing thing. And they got absolutely nothing to show for it. Now, the really scary thing about this, or not scary, but the really, I guess you would say, ethically questionable thing about raising all this money is that Kamala Harris and her campaign, despite what you heard in the media, despite what you heard Kamala Harris say, despite what you read on the internet, despite what you watched on the news or heard on the radio, Kamala Harris was never, ever ahead in this campaign, and Kamala Harris knew it. Kamala Harris knew it. Kamala Harris would go out there and talk about how they're winning in Pennsylvania, they're winning in these states, they're winning in that state. The news would report all of these polls. Oh, Kamala Harris is ahead of President Trump. It's Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump had all the momentum, and then Joe Biden dropped out and Kamala Harris came in the race. And now look, Kamala Harris is surging. She was never surging. She was never ahead. Her campaign knew it. The media knew it. And yet they perpetuated this lie on the American people. Why? I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory why.
Get this. We raised an historic $1.4 billion, almost $1.5 billion from grassroots supporters alone. The most in presidential campaign history.
$1.5 billion isn't raised to people who are raised by people who people think don't have a snowball's chance in HE double hockey sticks of beating President Donald Trump. So they, it seems, perpetuated this myth, this rumor, this falsehood that Kamala Harris was leading in several states when we know for a fact she was not. And we know that for a fact because this is David Plouffe, who is one of Kamala Harris's campaign advisor. I think he was running her campaign for a while. And he's admitting that the internal polling that they had never showed her ahead.
When we got in, my recollection is some of that snapped back, but we were behind. I mean, I think it surprised people because there was these public polls that came out in late September, early October, showing us with leads that we never saw. I mean, it was just basically a race that in the battlegrounds was 46-47, 47-48. So that's not where we started. We started behind. She was able to climb out. I think even after the debate, we might have gained, 0.51. It wasn't a race that moved a lot. And so I think when you think about our own internal analytics, if you have Wisconsin at 47-47, or Pennsylvania 48-47 Trump, let's say, which I think is where we had it at the end, you've got to have undecided break your way more than your opponents, and you've got to get a little benefit from turnout, which we weren't able to do. All
right, so she didn't get a benefit from turnout. She didn't get a benefit from the undecideds, and they knew pretty much that every one of these polls was a lie. They knew they were looking at these polls on TV going, where are these people getting these numbers? We're not ahead anywhere. We're behind Donald Trump in Wisconsin. We're behind Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. We're behind Donald Trump pretty much everywhere. There's nobody else in this race that's more behind Donald Trump than we are. Yet, you know what? We're going to keep going out there and telling everybody we're winning. Do you remember the Iowa poll that was so off? That the Seltzer poll, and Seltzer had to drop out of polling forever because she blew that. That was a lot. That was all bogus. It was just caca that they were using because they figured, look, if we can't out-campaign, if we can't get more votes, we're at least going to get more money. And that's exactly what they did. They got more money than anyone ever has. And I guess Kamala Harris believes that maybe her fundraising acumen or the ability of her that she had to raise all of this money and also spend all of this money. Maybe she thinks that down the road in 2028, if she continues to spend more money, if she continues to do all of this, that she will be able to rehash her political career and come back and somehow overcome the massive electoral and popular vote deficit that she had. Maybe if she spends even more money, maybe if they hit $2 billion in 2028, she'll be able to, I don't know, maybe tie with whoever the Republican candidate is. But she's doing everything she can in this message to inspire the people who helped her, to inspire the people who wrote the checks, inspire the people who sent her $57 on average, inspire the people who knocked on the doors and went out and said, I came to your kid's ball game. Now you come to this campaign rally with me and support Kamala Harris. She wants those people to be back with her in 2028.
Understand that the work we put into it was about empowering people. That's the spirit with the work we did. Our spirit and our work was about saying that it is a strength that we each have to lift people up as opposed to beating people down. It is a strength we have that has lasting effect. So all that work that you did that was about engaging with other people, engaging with perfect strangers and in their face seeing a neighbor, that has lasting effect.
That does have lasting effect, much like alcoholism. It has a lasting effect. It harms your liver, it kills brain cells. There's a lot of lasting effects from the overconsumption of alcohol. Then now again, the other thing that Kamala Harris wanted to do was make sure that her supporters know, look, it is going to be a trying 4 years. She knows it's going to be a trying 4 years.
I know this is an uncertain time. I'm clear-eyed about that.
I wouldn't say clear-eyed. I don't know that clear-eyed is the right. It doesn't matter.
I know you're clear-eyed about it. And it feels heavy. And I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
Mm-hmm. No, I will not. I will not. Where am I? Hang on. Let me go.
I know you're clear-eyed.
Yeah, I'm clear-eyed. I will not do that at all. I will not. Then also, I think she burped one more time. I think this is one of those like lady burps, listen one more time. Here it is.
I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving with the ability and to find the ability at this moment.
Was that not look, listen to it one more time. I think she again, just kept something repeated on her.
And to find the ability at this moment to just remember there is so much to be thankful for.
There's a lot to be thankful for. For example, President Donald Trump is returning to office on January 20th, and he will have a bevy of executive orders to make America great again. He'll be bringing with him an amazing transition team, and it looks like we're going to have a brand new 20-foot statue to commemorate of President Trump's assassination attempt failure in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the moment we all witnessed a miracle that returned America to greatness. Very, 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 very exciting for that. So God bless Kamala Harris. Don't forget to raise a glass to Kamala Harris because she 100% will be raising glasses to all of us. Another toast to you. And then is it a toast to you? That's going to be. Somebody told me that Kamala Harris was in Hawaii and that she must have been staying at one of those all-inclusive resorts where you don't pay for drinks. You know, you just walk up, you'll be like, dirty banana. And a shot of tequila, and then they just give it to you, and you don't even have to tip or anything. And then you just walk back, and then the waiter comes around and goes, anything else? Another dirty banana. No, Tom Collins, please, excuse me. That's probably she was. I don't know what she was doing in Hawaii. I don't know where she was, but apparently it appears that she had a really good time. Hey, listen, real quick. I know that Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, Thanksgiving's tomorrow. Very exciting. And with Thanksgiving, there's a lot of tradition. There's a lot of turkey baking and mashed potato making, and there's sweet potatoes, and there's green bean casserole, which some people are into. I'm not one of them. I just make fresh green beans, but to each their own. Pumpkin pie eating. Lots of great stuff. And of course, you're hanging out with family. And then, of course, it's the shopping. I don't know if people still go out at midnight. I don't think that's a thing anymore. It used to be that the Black Friday sale in the store was huge, but I think that people don't do that anymore. I don't know why. I mean, maybe there are some people that still go out for Black Friday shopping and they risk life and limb for like an inexpensive television or a laptop computer or something. Or maybe there's that toy, although I don't think there is that toy this year, that must-have toy where you have to wait, like the Cabbage Patch doll. You have to wait at the back of the truck. You know, you go to Toys R Us and they're like, all right, go in the alley. And then the truck pulls up and they raise a thing and they just start throwing these dolls out the back of the truck and you're fighting. You know, your dads are punching each other. Moms are too for that toy. I don't know if they have that this year. And I think a lot more of it is these cyber sales and these online sales. And that's something, by the way, that I'm a big proponent of. I'm a big proponent of shopping online. And that's why I would urge you, if you're looking for a fantastic Christmas gift, if you're looking to get into the spirit, if you're looking for a Christmas story that you maybe have never heard, I would urge you to go online because you don't have to wait and grab it out of the back of the truck. You don't have to fight people for it. To get the Christmas story that has never been told until now. The Untold Story of Christmas. This is our best-selling book of all time. Of all the books we've ever written, this one last year went like hotcakes, man. Everybody was clamoring for a copy of this book. It's the story of Jesus Christ told from a different perspective, from a different point of view. And I'll read it on the air during the show a couple of weeks from now. But if you want to get a copy early, if you want to start getting those stocking stuffers, if you want to start getting, your kid's going to come to you and say, hey, I'm going to a party and I need a gift. And you're going to be scrambling around looking for something. You're going to need a white elephant present. You're going to forget something for the mailman or whatever. You stick a $20 bill in this book and it's incredible. It's a beautiful book. It's really, if I do say so myself. And I will. It's a beautiful book. We designed it to look not just like a book, but like an ornament. Because my wife, what we do at our house is all the Christmas books, they sit out. So whenever somebody wants to read a Christmas book or get inspired or have a laugh or whatever, they pick it up and they read it. And so I wanted a book that you could leave out, as decorative as it is beautiful inside. And I think we've succeeded with the Untold Story of Christmas. You can get multiple copies for a discount. The more you buy, the more you save. The untoldstoryofchristmas.com is where you go. As you can see, look, Pamela just bought one an hour ago. Pamela from League City, Texas. So Pamela, we appreciate that. If you go to the website, you can see what the readers are saying about the book. You can look a little. Here's some of the photos. 4 hours ago, Mary from Haverhill, Massachusetts bought one. Here's a little bit more about how we came across the story and how we wrote it down. And then there's even a sample. You can read like the first chapter sample there just so you get a feel for it. But it is a beautiful holiday story. It's an inspirational holiday tale, and it's a new one. It's one that you probably have not yet heard. So I urge you to go to the untoldstoryofchristmas.com, the untoldstoryofchristmas.com, and get yourself a copy. All right, real quick, I want to talk about this whole border battle and what a difference a day makes. I'm going to play these clips from yesterday again because they're some of my favorite clips, but also they're very poignant. I want to play with you. There's been a border battle ever since Tom Homan became the, I guess you would say, the border czar elect. Tom Homan was appointed by President Trump to be the border czar. He will be the border czar, and he's going to make a serious change at the border. He's going to make sure that the border is secure. He's going to round up all of the illegal immigrants. He's going to send them all back home, especially the criminals, the violent criminals, the drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers, the gang members. Operation Aurora is going to clear out all of those Venezuelan gangs that have been taking over complexes across the country, wielding guns and scaring residents. That's going to be done away with, and Tom Homan's going to make sure he's the guy in charge. He's the head cheese, the big kahuna, and he looks like a big kahuna too. That's very exciting. And one of the things he said was, there's not going to be any sanctuary cities. We don't care if you're a sanctuary city or not. If you think you're a sanctuary city, guess what? You're breaking federal law, and we will arrest anybody who stands in the way. Well, the mayor of Denver, this guy named Mike Johnston, not Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver, Colorado, he said he would be willing to go to jail. And I'm gonna play that clip again. Here's what he said about going to jail for illegal immigrants.
Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan, has said that he is willing to arrest leaders like yourself for standing in the way of these policies that they want to enact. Would you be willing to go to jail for these things?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of that. And I'm also not seeking that. I think the goal is we want to be able to negotiate with reasonable people how to solve hard problems.
You would encourage people to...
All right, so there he goes. He goes, look, I'm not afraid of that. I'm also not seeking that. I'm not afraid of going to jail, but just to be clear, I don't want to go to jail. And then Tom Homan went on Sean Hannity and said, hey, we agree.
Tom, you heard this mayor out there in Colorado. I want to get your reaction to it. And I want you to be clear about who has jurisdiction, the federal government or state and local governments. And if you're a sanctuary state or city, are you breaking the law?
You're absolutely breaking law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail. Because there's a statute, it's Title 8 United States Code 1324 III, and what it says is, it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. He's got the statute. He's got the number. He can cite it. He can respond to it and recite it and say, "Hey, look, it's a it's against federal law to interfere with the ICE operations and any immigration officer who's trying to deport an illegal criminal." And look, we agree. If you want to go to jail, I'm happy to put you there. Whatever it's going to take is what we're going to do, because we have a mandate from the American people. And the American people have told us, we don't want these illegals here anymore. So please extricate them from our society. Well, the Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver, Colorado, was on CNN after this, responding to Tom Homan's threat to imprison him. Listen to how he's kind of softened up on his stance.
Says he's going to enforce the law. Are you willing to go to jail over this?
I think there are thoughtful ways to solve this problem. If they want to focus on violent criminals, we would be happy to help support pursuing, arresting, and deporting them. We've helped past administrations. We'd do that again. If they want to focus on adding more judicial capacity so folks with asylum claims can have those cases heard more quickly, we would support that. Well, we're not. Okay, so he's all of a sudden, he's like, it's funny you should mention that, because we're all about working to get rid of violent criminals. Funny you should bring that up, because we're all about more judges to process asylum seekers. The question was, are you willing to go to jail still? And he goes, you know what? I think that we should work to get rid of all of a sudden it's, illegals. All right, if they've committed crimes, we'll get rid of them. It's a much softer tone now. But then he launches into one of the most ridiculous fake news narratives we've heard. And this is something the left is going to perpetuate. This is the beginning. They're adopting this narrative and they're using this clown to go out there and set the scene for how they're going to fight back and attack the ICE officers and Tom Homan and the border czar and anyone who tries to deport illegal immigrants. Listen to this. What we're not going to do is support deploying the 101st Airborne into American cities to pull 10-year-old kids out of their classrooms in handcuffs. I think that is immoral, that's unconstitutional, and that's un-American.
Okay, we're not going to support the 101st Airborne being deployed into Denver, Colorado to rip 10-year-olds out of the classroom. Good, because that's exactly what Donald Trump said he was going to do on the campaign trail. I have the clip right here. Oh, wait, no, I don't, because it doesn't exist. This is the same scare tactic, the same fear mongering that these people have tried for decades unsuccessfully. It's the same scare tactic, the same fear mongering that they've been trying, again, unsuccessfully through the campaign. They tried to tell you that President Trump was Hitler. They tried to tell you it was the end of democracy. We watched Mika Brzezinski cry, bawl, and talk about how horrible life would be if President Trump won the election. And then fast forward to 2 weeks after Donald Trump won the election, and Mika Brzezinski was flying first class with her buddy Joe down to Mar-a-Lago to kick it in the sunshine with President Trump and try to convince him that, no, they weren't that bad. They were just reporting the facts. That's where we stand today. The fake news narrative is that Donald Trump is going to send armed forces, the military, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marine. They're going to carpet bomb Denver seeking these illegal immigrant children, 10-year-olds. Yeah, he goes, what we do? 10-year-olds, he's saying. I don't approve of the 101st Airborne taking 10-year-olds out of classrooms.
Criminals, we would be happy to help support pursuing, arresting, and deporting them. We've helped past administrations. We'd do that again. If they want to focus on adding more judicial capacity so folks with asylum claims can have those cases heard more quickly, we would support that. What we're not going to do is support deploying the 101st Airborne into American cities to pull 10-year-old kids out of their classrooms in handcuffs. I think that is immoral, that's unconstitutional, and that's un-American. And so I think if that's
also, by the way, that's unrealistic, and that's also, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, stupid. But oh, what a difference a day makes. That's the guy who was all hell-bent and ready to go, and he was going to stand up to Tom Homan and ICE, and he was like, I will be happy to go to jail if that's what it takes, because I feel like Denverites and Americans, I feel like they don't believe that this is the right way to go. Oh, yeah? Let me show you the numbers again. Let's go back to the election. Let's look at the electoral victory that President Trump enjoyed. Let's look at the mandate he was handed by the popular vote victory. Let's look at how red this country has become. Let's look at how immigration was the #1 campaign issue. Immigration and the economy. Those were the two things that people were concerned about. Those were the two things that people were worried about. Those were the two things that people wanted President Trump to come in and fix. And as a result, President Trump is coming in to fix both of those things. And no one is going to stand in their way. And if you do, you're going to go to jail, especially if you're breaking statute 1234897-III 867-5309 or whatever it is that whatever it is. Tom Homan knows it. Tom Homan is not only tough, he's smart. He not only enforces the law, he knows the law verbatim. He knows where to find it. He knows what it means and what it says, and he knows exactly what to do to make sure that nobody, even the elected officials in Denver, Colorado, are out there mucking it all up. It's going to be, I'm telling you, I'm very excited about everybody in this administration. There's not one administration pick. I know that a lot of people are questioning the Surgeon General. I know that a lot of people also have questions about a couple of other people that were maybe, I was a big Matt Gaetz supporter, and then Pam Bondi came in, and all right, so now it's Pam Bondi, but also she's quite the bulldog herself, so it should be okay. I know that people are still iffy on RFK Jr. I know a lot of Republicans love him. In fact, most Republican voters, 80% said yes, but there's a percentage that said, I don't trust this guy. He's a Democrat. I don't trust this guy. He's got, a worm in his brain, or he killed a bear or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, President Trump is stacking the deck with people who are outliers from the current administration, outliers from government, and they are people who are hell-bent on doing whatever it needs to be done. And they're anti-status quo. That's the thing. None of these people are Washington insiders. And if they've been in Washington before, or if they've held a position before, they are people that were admonished or looked down upon or ostracized because they didn't hold the right opinion. And one of those is a guy that President Trump just tapped to be the director of the NIH, the National Institutes of Health. That's Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I just call him Dr. J because Bhattacharya is a very long name to pronounce. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, MD, PhD, Director of National Institutes of Health. Dr. Bhattacharya will work in cooperation with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to direct the nation's medical research and to make important discoveries that will improve health and save lives. He's from Stanford University. He's a research associate at the National Bureau of Economics Research. Together, Jay and RFK Jr. will restore the NIH to a gold standard of medical research as they examine the underlying causes of and solutions to America's biggest health challenges, including our crisis of chronic illness and disease. Together, they will work hard to make America healthy again. That is from President Donald Trump's announcement that he's chosen Dr. J to lead the NIH. And the NIH it's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big deal. And a lot of folks have come out and said this is a fantastic pick by President Trump. That a lot of folks have said, you may not understand who this guy is, you may not be familiar with him, but this is a guy who stood up to the COVID lockdowns and said, look, we may be overreacting a little bit. He also said that during the COVID lockdowns, there were other ways to kind of do what we did here in Florida and separate those folks who were most susceptible to the diseases and do something different and not, lock down the entire population. And that caused a lot of grief. He had an open letter that he wrote about it, but he's getting a lot of support from a lot of different people. For example, Elon Musk wrote, "Great outcome." Dr. Jay Bhattacharya went from being on a Twitter blacklist to NIH director. Callie Means, what a bold, transformative pick by real Donald Trump for NIH director. There is nobody better in America with the intellect, first principle thinking, and moral clarity to get the NIH back to foundational science. There was another one from Rusty Rockets who said something like wild or weird. Joe Rogan. These are all people that have interviewed him, much to the chagrin of the mainstream media, and now they are. Now they're promoting somebody who's going to have some real power and influence in making America healthy again, and doing it in a way that is not overreaching, overbearing, or what most people feel tyrannical in nature. There was something else that Elon Musk did, which I wanted to bring to your attention because, Elon Musk, this guy has a huge megaphone. He's got X, he owns Twitter, he's got like hundreds of millions of followers. Anytime he says something, the media picks up on it. And now he's working very closely with President Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy and the Department of Government Efficiency, or the DOGE. And it's amazing what pops up. The best thing about Elon Musk and the best thing about a lot of these Trump appointees is they're not looking for the same old. They're looking for new ideas. So anytime there's a new idea, they'll entertain it. If you've got an idea for the DOGE, in fact, Cenk Uygur, I forget his name, Cenk Uygur, I forget how you pronounce it, the guy from the Young Turks. He said, look, Elon Musk, I told him, I said, I have some idea about government waste in the Defense Department that we could cut out. And he said, Elon Musk said to me, what are your thoughts? And he said, I've been a Democrat my whole life. I've been a Democrat reporter my whole life. I built this huge Democrat, reporting industry. And never once did any billionaire Democrat donor ask me my thoughts about anything. He said, Elon is the real deal. He wants change and he wants to know what people think the change or where the change needs to come from. Well, a guy named James Stevenson, who is, I don't know what he does. He owns a Tesla. That's all I know about him. But James Stevenson went on X and he wrote, all I want for my birthday is the abolishment of daylight savings time. And they were at, what do you, abolish it, keep it? Other comment, as I say abolish it. Look, 81% of people said abolish it. Well, Elon Musk retweeted him and said, looks like the people want to abolish the annoying time changes. And Vivek Ramaswamy said, oh, it's inefficient and easy to change. Now, this has always been a pet peeve of mine for oh so long, this annoying daylight savings time, this bass-ackwards way we have of changing the time back and forth twice a year, which just seems ridiculous and unnecessary in our technologically advanced age. Yes, I understand the whole agrarian background of it. Yes, I understand there's 3,000 to 9,000 different explanations as to why it has to happen, but there are places where it doesn't, and that's where it gets really annoying. There are places in Arizona that are on daylight savings one day and then they're not. And and they're flipping time zones, central mountain. It's really ridiculous. Here in Florida, the panhandle of Florida near Destin and Points West is in a different time zone, which makes it really difficult if you're trying to do anything. And you drive across a line and all of a sudden it's an hour later. It makes no sense to absolutely anybody. But now, of course, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are on the case, and they're trying to abolish it. This is something that I think finally will happen. I'm impressed with the idea of abolishing the daylight savings time, and I'm happy that the leaders of the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, are taking it under advisement and consideration. And there's another reason why it's exciting, because there's another high-ranking official in President Trump's cabinet who has been anti-daylight savings for quite some time. And that is Florida Senator and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has been a proponent of abolishing daylight savings time. Every time we turn back the clock, this guy sends out a new press release. October 28th, Rubio, it's time to lock the clock. And this has been, by the way, this has been going on in Florida forever. Ever since I moved here and Marco Rubio has been senator, Marco Rubio, whenever we have to switch, an hour forward or fall back or whatever it is, Marco Rubio has been the guy that would first come out and say, this is ridiculous. Can we please get rid of it? Rick Scott was on board with it. And Rick Scott said, yes, let's get rid of this finally. We petitioned the governor. There's so much that apparently needs to go into this because it's got to be a nationwide thing. I feel like now we finally have the power behind us. But Marco Rubio wrote this. Rubio, it's time to lock the clock. Ahead of the switch from daylight saving time to standard time, U.S. Senator Marco Rubio released a statement in support of making daylight saving time permanent. It's time to lock the clock and stop enduring the ridiculous and antiquated practice of switching our clocks back and forth. Let's finally pass my Sunshine Protection Act and end the need to fall back and spring forward for good. In March of 2023, Rubio reintroduced the Sunshine Protection Act of 2023 for the 118th Congress to put an end to the antiquated practice of changing clocks back twice a year. As you can see, this has been going back since 2022, March of 2022. Rubio's bill to make daylight saving time permanent receives widespread praise following Senate passage. It never, however, became the law of the land. Hopefully, with Marco Rubio in the president's ear, with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy in charge of the DOGE, and with everybody else realizing, look, there's so much stupidity, there's so much ridiculous, there's so much of this dumb stuff that goes on in Congress, it's probably time for us to figure out, there's a better way to do things. And it doesn't matter how big or small or how insignificant something seems at the time. It seems like for the first time ever, we have an administration with President Trump and all of his advisors and all the king's men, and they're ready to put America back together again. And they're not going They're not going to ignore anyone's idea. They're not going to say, well, you're not a professor, you're not a doctor, you don't know what you're talking about. They're going to go out and they're going to find people who have good ideas wherever they are, and they're going to listen to them. And they're going to lock down the idea that just because you've been around for a while in Washington, D.C., or just because you went to the right school, or you have the right pedigree, or you were elected, or you're a Democrat, or yada, 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 that you know what you're talking about. Because most of the time, these people don't have any clue what they're saying.
Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
All right. Thanks, sister. I will not do that. One more thing before we wrap it up for Thanksgiving is that Elon Musk, again, and talk about transparency. There's always been this talk about how transparency, the Doge will work transparently. President Trump will work with his cabinet to be transparent. There's massive transparency in this entire organization already. What we've seen, for example, we saw Donald Trump go on Truth Social and say, I'm going to levy a 25% tariff on Mexico, on Canada, 10% on China until they stop with the drugs and they stop with the immigration and they buckle down and they help us protect our borders. And all of a sudden, look at that. Caravans in Mexico with thousands of immigrants were turned around and sent home. Canada has, in a flurry of phone calls, gone back and forth to try to figure out how to make immigration the number one most important priority. And China, well, we don't know what China is doing yet, but we have a feeling that they're going to move on some of these issues. Pete Hegseth, as we talked about yesterday, was chosen to be but he was chosen to be put in charge of the military. And all of a sudden, we see that military enlistment has increased dramatically. And also, there are people staying in the military. People that were going to leave are re-enlisting and they're re-upping, and we're going to have not just recruitment benefits and we're not going to start meeting our recruitment goals, but our retention goals as well. Because look, it's easier to retain somebody in the military than it is to go out and find somebody and get them to sign up. So you want to recruit and you want to retain, and we've had problems with both under Joe Biden. I mean, who would want to work with that guy as commander in chief? So that's exciting. Every time Donald Trump does something or says something or puts something into place, we already see that there are added effects. The ceasefire, there's been a ceasefire agreement, which President Trump is taking Donald Trump is taking full credit for the ceasefire because, as well he should, because this ceasefire would not exist if Kamala Harris were coming into office. The fighting would increase, and they would know that as the fighting increased, so did the budget spending for all of these warring factions across the ocean. But one more thing that Elon Musk has floated is the idea of auditing the IRS, which I think is, that's just... You want to talk about irony. The IRS just said it wants $20 billion more money, $20 billion more money, said Elon. Do you think its budget should be increased, kept the same, decreased, or deleted? The final results, of course, were 60% say it should be deleted. There have been for years various different ways to tax people or create income for the government. It's not even income, but and create revenue for the government that doesn't involve income tax, that doesn't involve this various complex tax code with all of these loopholes. And the interesting thing about this is both sides of the issue, or both sides of the aisle, should be on board with reforming the tax code and auditing the IRS and stopping the payments and deleting it and coming up with some kind of alternate source of revenue. Tariffs, for example, President Trump is a big fan of, but there's also a flat tax. There's a consumption tax. There's all these things. Neil Bortz wrote a whole book about the fair tax. All of these things are tied into a way to fund the government fairly without unfairly taxing poor people more than rich people, and without all the loopholes that the left continues to complain about. They always complain about Elon Musk. Elon Musk doesn't pay any money in taxes. Well, if you switch to a fair tax or a consumption tax or a flat tax, then guess what? He would. And everybody would win. The government would have probably more money. We would have built-in taxes that we didn't see. We'd be able to keep our income and therefore probably spend more money, thus boosting the economy. There's so many different, this is such an antiquated and old system. And I have to believe that if Elon Musk is questioning daylight savings time, he's going to be questioning the need for the IRS. In fact, he already has. And Elon Musk is the kind of person that will look at a Twitter poll and make a decision and submit it to President Donald Trump. And President Donald Trump is somebody who will look at this decision that Elon Musk came to based on a Twitter poll and say, this looks pretty good. It's not business as usual. It's not the same old, same old. It's not the people that have been running this government bureaucracy for decades and decades and decades. This is a new era. This is outliers. This is the inmates running the asylum. This is the American people taking back their house. Because remember, we are a government of the people and by the people and for the people. And the people, you, me, everybody else, the people are more like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Vivek Ramaswamy than we are like Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Well, I mean, on Thanksgiving, I'm probably a lot more like Kamala Harris because, you know, we crack open a couple bottles and we toast. We start drinking early at my house.
Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
Yep, that's what I'll be sounding like in about 24 hours. I like to wake up early because I do all the cooking early in the morning, 10, 11, and I like, you know, I put a little bit of wine in the stuffing and a couple of the other dishes, and I'll just pour a little glass for myself, and I'll just sip on it throughout the entire day. I'm a big fan. I love Thanksgiving. I can't wait, not just for the dinner, but for the leftovers and for the camaraderie and the time with family and looking forward and praying and thanking God for all we're thankful for. And on that note, I will say I am thankful that all of you choose to come here every single day or as often as you can. I'm so glad that you guys subscribe to my channel. It's growing by leaps and bounds. I mean, we just came back on July the 15th, which August, September, October. You know, that's like 4 months. January 16th will be 6 months since we came back live every single day with the podcast, with Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, with this YouTube channel, with our Rumble feed, which is growing by leaps and bounds. And you guys are all so supportive, whether it's purchasing merchandise or buying a subscription or just throwing a super chat my way. I'm thankful for all of it. And know this, that we work every single day to keep bringing you this information and all of this entertainment. And we do it because it's what we love. It's what I feel I was called to do. I'm not really skilled enough to do anything else. And at the same point, I know that it's important to keep everybody out there totally informed. So if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, take a moment and do so. I would greatly appreciate that. We will not be live tomorrow or Friday, but we will have some great content for you too. The hits are going to keep on coming because I know it's going to happen. You're going to get bored with the football game. Your team's going to get blown out or whatever, or your family's going to get annoying and you're going to pull out your phone and you're going to be like, what can I look for? There's tons of stuff, and we will have tons more stuff on our channels throughout the weekend. So make sure you're subscribed and you're following. And again, take a minute. Head on over to the untoldstoryofchristmas.com and get a copy of this book because you're going to love it. If you have a copy, you know you love it. Maybe pick one up for somebody else. If you don't have a copy, look, I wrote it. It's a story that's based on the biblical telling of the birth of Jesus. So if you're a Christian and you love Christmas and you enjoy what we do here, you know you're going to love this book. It's not long. I mean, it's not a long, it's like a regular Christmas book that kids are going to love. All these other people have really enjoyed it. And I know you will too. The Untold Story of Christmas.com is where you can find that. Thank you again for everything. I love all you guys. I love hanging out with you every single day. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Thank God for all of the blessings. Thank God that we are not sitting here this Thanksgiving going 4 more years of Biden and Kamala, 4 more years of open border policies, 4 more years of endless wars, 4 more years of out of touch inflation and skyrocketing prices and all this. No. We prayed, we worked hard, we went out there, and we got everything that we wanted, everything we deserved, everything we needed, everything we've been talking about, we got. And for that reason and that reason alone, this should be one of the best Thanksgivings that you and your family ever enjoy. I know it will be for me. So thank you again. Thanks for subscribing. Have a great weekend. We will be back Monday. And we will continue live Monday. We'll be back all weekend, but we'll be back live on Monday at noon Eastern, 11 Central, when we will continue to fight so that we can save the Republic. Maybe I'll